Prey 2017 is without a doubt my favorite game of all time. But for today, I'm not talking about or even re-reviewing Prey in its entirety. No, today's video is about one of my favorite things in Arcane's science fiction immersive sim, the genius weapon design. Prey is an immersive sim. It's a genre that is most easily described as a type of game that responds to player action and allows for player agency and problem solving. I've jokingly said before that if you can read an email in a game, it's most likely an immersive sim. And that has mostly held true. Well, mostly. I'm in my email reading phase, as per usual. And this is not an email reading game, really. There are emails. There doesn't really seem to be a reason to read them, though. Are we already hitting the limits of what Atomic Heart can provide me? Email. Is there a utility here that I missed? No. Immersive sim royalty includes games like System Shock, Thief, Deus Ex, and more recently, the Dishonored games. Each of these games allows players to approach scenarios in multiple different ways, and generally the game reacts to those player choices. Prey is a masterclass in immersive sim game design, allowing players to sneak through vents, repair broken pathways, and, go guns blazing through the front door. And then the world reacts to that choice in real time. But all of that player choice and exploration creates a unique game design problem. How do you facilitate players exploring the space rather than experiencing it as a linear, flat Call of Duty level? Dishonored has its traversal powers like Blink, and Thief has its reactive arrows system, but more science fiction focused games tend to struggle to provide the same options as their Gaslamp fantasy counterparts. Until Prey, it seemed that the best you could do in these games was making ever more elaborate contraptions out of boxes, which is fun, but not teleport across the rooftops like Nightcrawler cool. Prey, though, has two genius solutions to the mobility and magic problem of a science fiction setting: the glue cannon and the huntress bolt caster. So let's start with the glue cannon. In universe, the glue cannon is a device built for dealing with environmental hazards. It is a weapon that shoots snowball-sized globs of foam to suppress fire or nullify electrical arcs.
Hey, a little bird told me you plugged a leak in an unconventional manner a few weeks ago. Care to elaborate?
Nah, supply was out of parts, so I borrowed a glue gun from the guys in hardware. Worked out okay.
But the real utility of the glue cannon is using its foam to encapsulate enemies, allowing for those critical hits, or using globs of glue to build platforms for traversal. Instead of needing magical teleport powers like Dishonored, you're able to use glue to build ramps to hidden areas above you, or, mountain goat your way down a steep drop. Prey is telling you a lot of things in the opening half hour, namely that everything you see is not as it seems.
It's my coffee. It's empty.
So it shouldn't actually be that surprising that the glue cannon is the first gun you receive. The glue cannon and wrench combo is a deadly one. It's a 1-2 punch for most enemies, but so is the ability to control the terms of engagement. Sure, you can glue that mimic in place for a moment, but what if you simply went over them to find a better position or just avoid them completely? By being the first distance weapon you discover, Prey is telling you a few important pieces of information. First, the wrench will remain your primary way of dealing with enemies. And since the wrench requires getting up close and personal, and probably getting hurt since there's not really a block or dodge, maybe it's best to use this tool, the glue cannon, to avoid combat. From the jump, Prey is telling you to question everything, including how you deal with enemies, which is doubly so for the huntress bolt caster. The huntress is a Nerf crossbow using foam darts that, like the glue cannon, doesn't actually deal any damage.
Are you trying to flirt with me?
The tutorial text for the weapon also explains that the dart tips react with computer screens. A vital detail. In Prey, almost everything is tactile. There are big red buttons to open and close doors, and within the opening minutes, you will interact with these really large, obnoxious computer screens with 3 massive main menus: emails, files, and utilities. These 30-inch displays are trisected by these menus, a seemingly odd aesthetic and user interface choice that only really makes sense once you pick up the Huntress. Emails contain, as you expect, messages between crew members, and the files section usually contains audio logs, maps, or schematics for the fabricators. Sometimes it's useful to read your emails or download a schematic from afar, but where the Huntress really shines is its ability to trigger utilities. It's a menu that allows the player to open doors, toggle turrets on and off, or turn an important level distraction on. You can run roughshod through Talos 1, clubbing phantoms and mimics to death with the wrench you pick up in the game's opening. But it is just so much more satisfying and rewarding to turn on a handful of turrets through an open window with your little Nerf blaster and watch from the safety of the other room as those turrets do your dirty work on those phantoms. Heck, if the door is broken open, use your trusty glue gun and just seal it right up, then trigger the turrets. And even if there's not a convenient murder hallway for you, you can always just use the bolt caster as a distraction device. The squeaky darts distract anything, including the nightmares wandering the halls of the station, and you can just sneak right on past. Prey allows players to meet the level on their own terms, rewarding crawling through the vents as much as gathering the proper keycards and walking through the front door. There are always options, but both the glue cannon and the Huntress make you look at level geometry differently. A second-story gantry is no longer out of reach, and each half-open window presents a moment to feel like the smartest person in space.
Well, that's some fine shooting, if I do say so myself.
Best yet, depending on how you play through Prey, it's possible that your first 3 weapons in your arsenal are the wrench, the glue cannon, and the Huntress, or their fantasy equivalent, the sword, the Misty Step, and the Mage Hand. You can spec your character into solving any of Prey's problems through multiple skill trees, but I love how Prey manages to not only provide the vents, key cards, and box moving abilities to get where you need, it is built in foundationally, from how the weapons are given to you and how they're placed in the environment, to what they do, to the actual environmental design of the very computer screens you look at constantly. There are multiple ways to deal with the multiple ways to solve a problem. There are so many little smart choices the team at Arcane made when they were creating Prey that I honestly don't have enough time to mention all of them. I mean, the pistol just starts out silenced. What a choice. That is a choice that's really important. But if there's one takeaway I wish more immersive sims or games cribbing from the genre would take, let me glob some gloop on the walls or read my emails after nailing a double bounce trick shot with my Nerf blaster.
Seriously?
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Meet me in my office. Yes, sir. And bring a glue gun.
Yeah, that's hilarious.